Welcome to Vital Records, the monthly genealogy tip series.
This month, I want to discuss a misconception that I often hear about genealogy research, that it's not possible to research your ancestors if they lived outside of the United States, especially when they recently immigrated. While it might be harder to research your ancestors in other countries, it's likely still very much possible. Some of the tips I'll give today apply to anyone interested in getting started with genealogy research, and other tips are specific to international genealogy research. Every country in the world creates and maintains records based on their own laws and traditions, and so the types of records created and available will vary greatly by country. However, international genealogy research will still follow many of the same strategies as U.S. genealogy research, with some records available online and many others available on paper or microfilm. Records will be held at multiple levels of the government, as well as by private organizations such as libraries and churches. And of course, they are likely to be in a foreign language. But the first step in genealogy will always be to start with what you already know and to collect information that you can learn from family members. Write down any piece of information you can think of. I promise you know more than you think you do. Also, sit down with family members, asking questions about their parents, their siblings, grandparents, aunts and uncles, and any other relatives that they know of. Work together to fill out family tree charts and family group sheets. I'll have some links to the good ones in the video description. It's also a good idea to start off with one or two specific questions that you want to answer to help keep you on track. For example, perhaps you want to find out more about your paternal grandfather and when he arrived in the United States. To start answering this question, you'll want to find out the basic vital records information, the birth and death dates and places of your paternal grandfather. This will help you tell him apart from other people with the same or similar name. Let's say that you don't have any other family members to provide details and are going off your own knowledge only. You know that you were a baby when your grandfather died, so you can record his death as circa the year you were born. Also, you remember that he died in his 70s, and he was born in Mexico, and you know his wife's name. If you're not sure of an exact age, I'd recommend assuming he was 75 years old, a nice middle number that gives you wiggle room around the date that you do know. So you can calculate his date of death as the year you were born, his date of birth as 75 years before your own birth year, and his place of birth as Mexico. Although these are still really broad dates and places, they give you a starting point, and they help to weed out people of the same name but of different ages and locations. With your estimated information, you'll be able to start a search for documents about your ancestor. What records should you look for? For an ancestor who immigrated to the United States, look for any records about them after their arrival in the United States. Death certificates, obituaries, military records, and census records. Many of these records are available on major genealogy websites or through government records offices. By researching your ancestor's life in the U.S., you should be able to cement some of those standard details about them. So instead of making assumptions about their birth and death year based on your memories, their death certificate or obituary can give you an exact date and might even provide even more information. Next, let's go backwards in time from their life in the U.S. to when they arrived in the U.S. Depending on when and where your ancestor immigrated from, their migration records might be online at Ancestry.com, which you can access free at the library, and Family Search, which is always free to access. These sites have U.S. immigration records from both Canada and Mexico borders, as well as by sea and air. You can also find immigration records from countries from around the world. You might otherwise find your ancestors on a website dedicated solely to migration records. For example, if your ancestor arrived in the U.S. between 1892 and 1924, they might have arrived at Ellis Island, which offers its own free website. Not finding your ancestor in any of these records? Look for records on other known family members, which might give you a clue. Sometimes a sibling might have left behind easier to find information that can help you track down your ancestor. Once you've looked at easily accessible United States records, it's time to go international. Start by researching the country that your ancestor immigrated from. It can be very helpful to do some research on what records are available before diving in. The Family Search Research Wiki is a great resource for this. This is an encyclopedia dedicated to genealogy that covers a variety of topics, including the types of records that were created and information about accessing them. The information available will vary by location, but can include historical information, maps of the country and other geographical information, lists of types of records created and links to where to find them, either online, by mail, or in person. Not every country has a large number of records available online, though many might surprise you. Countries that were colonized by European powers often have a larger number of records available online, especially religious records. These record collections can be tricky though, as they might pertain more to the colonizing population than the native population. The records about your ancestor might be listed under the country that your ancestor is from, or under the colonizing country. You can do broad searches on sites like Ancestry, Family Search, and Find My Past, inputting names, dates, and locations, and seeing what they find. But you should also use their catalog to browse the record collections that they have and search or browse those record collections directly. This is especially important on Family Search, which has a lot of digital record collections that do not have a searchable name index. The Family Search Research Wiki has a list of helpful international websites that can quickly point you to libraries, archives, and companies focused on genealogy in other countries. After exploring online records, it's important to see what's available on the ground in the country. Just like in the US, most countries will have a national library or archive that holds the records and can help with record requests. Of course, their websites are often likely to be in other languages and may not necessarily be designed with genealogy in mind. However, they will likely have a section with information on how to contact them and ask for guidance. You might also consider hiring a genealogist who lives in the country you're researching, or one here in the US who is familiar with research in that country. We all need a little help sometimes. Although researching your ancestor who lived outside of the United States can be difficult, it's often very possible. Hopefully these tips will help you get started. If you need assistance accessing genealogy records through the Gwinnett County Public Library, visit your local branch or call our Customer Contact Center for assistance. Check back again next month for another edition of Vital Records, and consider joining us at the Hamilton Mill branch for our twice-a-month Genealogy Club. Check out our online events calendar for dates and times, and I look forward to seeing you there.